Jake, and this is
Neverland Navigation Radio,
where today we take a stroll through the history of one of Disney's fanciest resorts.
Yeah, the fanciest.
What do we have today, Morgan?
We have the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa.
Are you feeling grand?
Yeah, I'm feeling very posh today.
Ooh, okay. We're feeling
How about
deluxe. You? Yes, absolutely.
Dapper?
I'm feeling dapper, deluxe, and ready to spend some money.
Okay, good. You're gonna need to.
Yeah, right? This is a favorite of mine aesthetically.
Oh, me too. Me too.
It's hard to deny.
Especially at Christmas.
Oh, yes. There's a certain charm to this resort, very luxe feel that goes into all of the detailing, and it really sets the tone right from the second you step through the doors.
Yes.
Or even see it from the monorail loop, truly.
Absolutely. I mean, even seeing the buildings from far away, I think gives you that, I mean, you just know.
You just know.
It's luxurious.
Absolutely. All right, so before we dive a little farther into the history of this resort today, we wanted to thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you would like to help support the show and you're on an audio listening platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can do that by leaving us a review. We'd love to hear what you thought of the show, and by subscribing so that you can see when a new episode is posted every week. Also, if you'd like to see the visual version of the podcast, which we upload every single week to our YouTube channel, you can check us out there at Neverland Navigation Co. We would love to see you over there in the comments section, as well as liking the video and subscribing to the channel so you can see when the new episode is posted. We would really appreciate it as well.
Yes, and if you are thinking about taking any kind of vacation, whether it's a deluxe Disney vacation or a cruise or whatever, I am a free-to-you travel agent. You can reach me by emailing me at neverlandnavigationco@gmail.com, and I'll give you my contact information. I can help you get the same deal or better than you could get yourself, so you're already going to spend that money. A small portion of that comes back to me from the company that you're traveling with. So then to give back to you, I do free custom trip t-shirts for my clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're everybody who's booking a vacation online, you're paying the price for the commission for your personal travel agent. And if you're not using a personal travel agent, you're just paying money for something you're not getting. So might as well send me an email. I'll talk to you about what I can do for you, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and you can't overstate all the benefits that come with having a travel agent.
There's so many.
Absolutely. Especially, I mean, we're doing this little series on resort history right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ins and outs, a lot of changes happening all the
time. A
time.
lot to know.
So it's nice to know if you've got a travel agent.
Yeah, and I have had clients before who have booked, and then I do deal monitoring where I check the price of their vacation every week to make sure there's no deals. And I have been able to get them a better deal a few weeks after they booked, so you kind of get a refund on your money. So.
That's the best feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Knocking some
And that's not
money
something
off.
Most people are doing on their own. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, in a lot of cases you save money. But why would you not?
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing better than knocking some money off of that vacation after you've already locked in a price that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so today we're going into the grand history of the Grand Floridian.
Woo!
So the idea of a luxury resort in Walt Disney World was something that predated the Grand Floridian's opening, which happened in 1988, a little later than I actually even thought.
Yeah.
By decades. So this was in the works, like in the plans for as long as Walt had been talking about what he wanted.
A fancy hotel.
A fancy hotel. Well, he envisioned a series of deluxe hotels near the Magic Kingdom. Did you know that?
Right, yeah.
Right, and we got 3 of them, but those 2 of those were on his original idea, but the Grand Floridian wasn't. His plan for it was going to be an Asian-themed resort.
Ah.
Yeah. There was also supposed to be a Persian resort and a Venetian resort.
How fun.
So the thing that I find a little confusing is these 3, Asian, Persian, Venetian, in addition to contemporary and Polynesian, were supposed to represent the different lands in Magic Kingdom. And my brain does not make a connection. Contemporary, maybe Tomorrowland.
Yep.
Okay. Polynesian Adventureland.
Adventureland.
And then I'm out.
Right. Okay. Venetian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't quite get that.
No, I don't either. But that was the thought process. That's what was,
Interesting.
taken down, compiled with the different interviews and stuff that had been done with him and Imagineers that worked on the original plan and the original concepts for Walt Disney World. So I don't get it, but the two that do make sense with lands did happen.
Yeah, those definitely tie together nicely.
Yes, and ultimately, the Grand Floridian is supposed to have light ties to Main Street, USA.
Okay.
In the era.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess I could lightly see that.
Yeah.
Lightly,
I know.
Yeah.
It's all kind of light, and I can't even find a light connection between a Venetian resort and one of the existing lands. Or not existing, but existing at the time.
or even
planned.
Persian.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit.
Nope.
Very
nope,
interesting.
I don't really get it. But anyway, the contemporary and the Polynesian hotels did open in the 70s, but the issue, which is so often the case, is for budget reasons in the 70s, such as an oil embargo, which resulted in a dip in tourism,
Right.
put the plans for that third hotel on hold.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. The plot of land that is on the western shore of the Seven Seas Lagoon, where the Grand Floridian now stands, it was originally earmarked for that Asian resort, complete with a Thai-inspired architecture, to the extent that they named that road that leads up to it Asian Way.
Oh, okay. So they were like...
They were...
The infrastructure was...
It's so funny.
Going.
It's so funny how this so often happens in Disney history, where the plans are drawn up, the streets are named, and then something happens with budget, and then they revisit it years later, and they're like, let's just scrap all that work.
I know.
I don't get it, really. Like, I'm glad, because I love the Grand Floridian, and I honestly can't. I don't know what to even think about an Asian-themed hotel. Maybe that would be amazing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But it just seems like the Imagineers and possibly architects in this case that spent all this time conceptualizing all these hours. I just can't believe they waste that, but they do it all the time. We see this all the time.
Yeah, it really is, and that is such a big pivot in concept.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what happened. They revisited it in the 80s then. And so instead of the Asian theme, they decided to conceive a Victorian era seaside resort. And it was supposed to evoke the splendor of Florida's golden age of hospitality. Again, this one doesn't really make sense to me because it is pretty obviously based on a hotel in San Diego, California. Have you seen pictures of that hotel?
I think so.
Yeah, it's called the Coronado. It's called the something.
Even more confusing.
Yes,
because we have a Coronado that looks nothing like that Coronado.
Exactly. And it also draws some resemblance from hotels in the Northeast United States.
Right.
So I don't know in what way they thought that this would evoke Florida's golden era of tourism. I guess I don't know much about Florida's golden era of tourism, but yeah. Whatever.
I mean, so the size of the resort and the splendor of the Grand Floridian definitely...
Hotel del Coronado.
I was going to say, first of all, it does look exactly like the Hotel del
I've been there. It looks exactly the same.
And yeah, down to the major pavilion buildings, they look so similar.
Red tile roof, the white. Anyway, go on.
Totally. I definitely get how the scale and the splendor of the resort evokes something like what hotels like the Breakers in Palm Beach were kind of offering to people in, Florida's booming economy in the heyday. But I don't understand. This to me does not scream Florida.
Yeah.
You know?
I
This
agree.
design does
I
not
agree.
scream Florida.
But that was what they were. That's what they thought they were doing. So it's an interesting. It's just interesting. It's just interesting.
It's still charming. It still looks beautiful. The Grand Floridian still obviously looks beautiful, and I think it is. Even just looking at it, it looks deluxe. You know.
Yes. Yes, and they were going for a luxury hotel to provide that service. That if somebody was looking for a luxury hotel, they didn't want them to not have to stay on Disney property, but they also they've walked a fine line where they kept it from feeling stuffy because they wanted you to be able to feel like your kids in their flip-flops would be fine in there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's hard.
Do you feel like it's stuffy in there?
I don't feel like I should be wearing flip-flops in there.
Yeah.
I don't know
agree.
if stuffy's the right word. If I were walked in there with no pretense, like I didn't know, you know, and there weren't a bunch of other families with screaming children and flip-flops and ball caps and stuff like that, I would feel like I should be dressed formally.
I know, right?
And that's what they're going for. It's a hard
Right.
A hard thing to try to figure out how to do luxury, but also you feel comfortable. But also that I feel like that's going away a lot. Like when we've gone to fancy dinners for like a special occasion, I'm always a little surprised to see that some people will be just wearing shorts and and baseball hats and stuff like that.
That's definitely a thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, they worked hard to try to make it have that vibe. What do you think?
I think that this is the resort among all of them where I feel like I need to be wearing like a tie.
Yes, a little bit the Riviera too, I feel, but yeah.
Yeah, the Riviera also has a very classy vibe about it. There's just something about the piano and the grand atrium in this hotel that makes me feel like I am like walking into a fancy party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's what they wanted. So it's hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, groundbreaking took place in spring of 1986, and crews began transforming this swampy soil into what would come to be one of our favorite hotels. Mm-hmm. This is not an easy thing. So all of this area was a swamp before, and they had to use literal tons of sand to go on top of like the swamp, you know what I mean, to make for like a solid ground.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I can't even imagine the amount of work that goes into something like that.
Yeah, but they worked quickly because of how everything that Walt had done with the construction company. You know the history. Mm-hmm. So when he started Walt Disney World, he made his own construction company down here so that things could go really efficiently, and this benefited from that.
Yeah.
On June 28th, 1988, the Grand Floridian Beach Resort officially opened its doors to guests, becoming the third hotel on the Walt Disney World property. That same summer is when the Beach Boys came and did their music video.
Oh, well, okay, yes.
Yeah.
I've seen clips.
I went ahead and watched the whole thing last night.
Really?
Yeah, it's not subtle.
Yeah.
they're like, if you know the Grand Floridian, you're like, oh yeah. I thought maybe you would get like a glimpse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's very obvious if you know the Grand Floridian. It's the red tile roofs and the white, there's no mistaking it.
How fun. I love when there's like music videos and stuff filmed at Disney.
Yeah. This music video also had clips from like people on the beach, which was clearly not like the Grand Floridian beach, and from the movie Cocktail, I believe.
Oh.
So
really?
Yeah, but when they were playing on Grand Floridian property.
Okay.
Yeah, and John Stamos is playing the steel drums in this music video as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's supposed to look like some beachy resort.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't think it was supposed to look like they were on Disney.
Right.
But they were playing to a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they were going for. It was a pretty crazy video, and there was like jumping around from a beach shot to them playing at night at the Grand Floridian to a scene from Cocktail.
Wow. Okay, cool. Sounds like a fun little trip.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure that helped with the popularity. I don't know if that was part of the goal.
Yeah.
The Grand Floridian originally boasted 800 plus guest rooms spread out across a central main building and then 5 outer lodge buildings, all connected by landscaped paths and white sand beaches.
Mm-hmm.
So, beautiful hotel from the get-go.
Oh yeah, the outside of it especially, and that beach situation is very pretty.
Yeah. In 1992, they opened a convention center adjacent to the hotel. This had became like a kind of a big thing at a bunch of the hotels, I feel like, in the 90s, where they were trying to get the business money.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's something that happened. You don't even see it. Like, I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, where is it?
All I saw was adjacent to the hotel.
So it's on the actual property.
Yes, but I
Cool.
read that they purposely made it so you don't see it as a guest.
Okay, that makes sense.
But that people that are attending business conferences there appreciate that it's like right there.
Yeah, that sounds super
But somehow invisible to those
That's
of us.
kind of like the boardwalk, though. Unless you go like a really specific way in the front of the hotel, you'd probably never know the convention
That's
center
true.
was
Except
there.
for the parking, you see it.
Yeah, you
and
do
you walk
see
right
it.
by it.
That's true. Yeah, they hide it better at the Grand
I guess
Club.
at Contemporary though. You know what I mean? Isn't it like in the basement at the Contemporary?
No, we've been.
Well, they've got
Yeah, a whole huge section of that resort is the convention center. It's like
yes,
built
they
right into the
do
hotel.
have something in the basement though, right? A room or something like that.
I think so.
I think so too. In July of 1995, a fairy tale touch was added to the shoreline nearby, and that was Disney's Wedding Pavilion.
Oh.
This is technically not part of it's on an island, so it's not technically in the same,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, and I didn't realize it was added so late.
Yeah, I know. I was a little surprised too. I remember though when I was a kid hearing the Monorail announcer guy talking about it, but that I didn't know that he was talking about it because it was newer.
Yeah, right? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. The chapel-like venue was designed to give couples a picturesque view of Cinderella Castle in the background, as they say I do. And that cemented the Grand Floridian's reputation as a place for Disney fairy tale weddings, which came to be big business for them.
Absolutely.
By the fall of 1997, Disney officially renamed the property Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, which reflected the addition of the full-service spa and health club that they added. It is called Senses now. I have not yet had the pleasure of going, but it
Sounds
seems
great.
nice. Starting in 1999, the Grand Floridian began putting up their life-size gingerbread house. So I'm just going through like all the different changes throughout the years.
Yeah.
1999 was the first year that they did that giant gingerbread house, which went on to become like a Christmas icon for Disney.
Absolutely.
There are specials about it on TV. It's like a can't miss around the holidays. We've stood in line to get a piece of gingerbread tile for like an hour before. It is like a beautiful thing. Giant gingerbread that they actually, it's like a functional room inside the gingerbread that they serve you out of. And it's totally a can't miss.
It is so crazy. It is, seeing it in real life is very surreal. I think if people have not witnessed this, then I think it's something that should be on everybody's like holiday
I do too.
Disney to-do list.
I do too, and we'll get to I'm gonna circle back to the Christmas stuff later.
Oh,
Some of
great.
you probably know why already. So in the 2010s, they got one of the most significant expansions to date, and that was the addition of DVC, or the Disney Vacation Club villas. And when they started getting these villas, they started adding Mary Poppins touches to the rooms. It's a pretty subtle subtle touches. This was also done later to one of the restaurants, which I'll mention in a minute. But I really, really love the whimsical and subtle touches that are added to different places in the resort, which I think Mary Poppins and the Grand Floridian and the class of Mary Poppins, I think it just fits together so beautifully.
I completely agree. It definitely makes sense as a property to include. It
Yes.
seems like more than ever they are all about including different film properties and stuff into the different resorts now. And of those additions, I think Mary Poppins fits so well, and I really like how tasteful the artwork and the design elements that they chose to include are.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
And I really love that it's subtle and not like some of the other theming that they've done is really in your face, and this is really subtle, which I think adds to the classy nature of it.
I agree.
Even more recently, in 2022, Disney expanded the DVC presence by converting an existing Grand Floridian hotel building, which is the Big Pine Key Lodge, into additional resort studios for DVC members. So it's kind of becoming more and more DVC.
Right.
Mm-hmm. This conversion, which added about 200 more rooms to the DVC inventory, was accompanied by a resort-wide refurbishment initiative. So the start of a refurbishments, we kind of saw this taking place over the last couple years here and there.
Yeah.
And sometimes a restaurant would be under, a refurbishment. Namely, the buffet that they have, which I'm going to get to that whole thing in a minute, was closed for over 4 years, I think.
Wow, yeah, it felt like forever.
Yeah. So in the early 2020s, they're refreshing all of the guest rooms and interiors to ensure it stays competitive with modern luxury hotels with new furniture, updated color palettes, and subtle character touches. Again, Mary Poppins, which rejuvenated the rooms, but kept the Victorian feel of the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess this is popping back a little bit. I guess I put these out of order. But in 2019, the old Meisner's Lounge, which even that word Meisner, or that name Meisner, that was that was like an old Florida name. I can't remember. Would you mind looking that up?
Sure.
It was the Meisner Lounge in Grand Floridian. I guess just put in who is this named after, because I didn't make a note of it, but I did read about it, and it was a little interesting. But in 2019, it was transformed into a swanky Beauty and the Beast themed bar, but again, subtly themed, not like there's a Belle character or anything, called the Enchanted Rose. And that's when Citric Coast was also redesigned with subtle, whimsical nods to Mary Poppins Returns, actually.
Oh, okay, gotcha. The Meisner's Lounge was named after Addison Meisner, a prominent architect and developer known for his work in South Florida, particularly Boca Raton.
Okay, exactly. This was all supposed to be part of the Florida, luxury Florida, golden age of Florida,
Yeah.
Interesting.
And when you look at the buildings, you can definitely see
Do you see a resemblance?
a little bit, yeah. Especially just like the multi-level the design of like the windows, the arched doors. I can see a resemblance there about how there's like the South Florida kind of. They were saying that the reason that they named that after him was because of a resemblance in the architecture, and I can kind of see it.
Okay, yeah, cool. And it's nice of them to do that, to give a nod to that.
Yeah, that's pretty, it's cool to have a nod to Florida history like that.
Yeah. Around that time, the Grand Floridian Society Orchestra, who had been playing for over 30 years in the Grand Floridian, they're a live band and a grand piano player, went from like a full-time gig there to an occasional, which is, I think, sad.
I do too.
They used to fill the lobby with jazz and ragtime renditions of Disney tunes and old classical songs every evening. Couples would decades ago would waltz together on marble tiles, or you could just sit and listen from wherever you were at in that area.
Right. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I do too. And today it's just a special occasion thing.
Right.
I feel like we've been in there when somebody was playing. It could have been around the holidays.
We've been in there when there's piano playing for sure.
Yeah, but not a whole thing.
Right.
Not a whole orchestra. I don't even recall it.
Yeah, I can't.
But it used to be a nightly thing. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. In 2024, bless you.
Excuse me.
In 2024, 1900 Park Fair reopened, and it had a bunch of changes. So this closed at COVID.
Right.
So I want to say March-ish of 2020, 2020, and then didn't reopen until last year. And the new changes included a remodel, but also they redid the characters, which used to be that you would see Alice in Wonderland and Mary Poppins, Cinderella, and and now it's Aladdin, Tiana, Maribel, and Cinderella.
Oh, gotcha. Wow. Yeah, that is. I remember when we saw that change, we were like, wow, that's a completely different direction.
Completely different, because I feel like the ones that they were going for to begin with, they were English.
Yeah, right.
All of them. I think even at the end you could even see Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, gotcha.
So they were really going with like an England, and now it's kind of all over the map. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aladdin, Tiana, Maribel.
That's a wide assortment of characters there.
Yeah. My next little part is sad. I don't know if you want me to go into this, but it's incidents that have happened at the Grand Floridian.
Yeah, sure.
I hate for this, but it is what it is, and it is a part of the history. So on October 9th, 1989, a 33-year-old woman from Glen Cove, New York, was killed when do you remember, were you a Disney human child when you could rent out speedboats?
I don't know.
Little sprites. I was, so I remember these, and you can't anymore, and this is at least a big portion of why.
Yeah, I feel like I at least saw them.
Yeah, but she was in a tiny speedboat that collided with a ferry boat.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she and her 8-year-old son were broadsided by the ferry while trying to videotape friends and family members who were water skiing in the Seven Seas Lagoon. A crew member and a visitor on the ferry dove into the water and rescued the son. The boy was fine. And the ferry boat did all the things that there's would, they sounded the horn, they tried to get their attention, they stopped momentum on the boat, but this is a 600 passenger ferry boat, you know what I mean? So it's not like there was much that could be done, but then the family sued. They sued for $240 million. From what I can gather, Disney offered a 7-figure settlement, and they said no, and then I don't think they got anything for it.
Really?
Well, what were they supposed to do? You know what I mean? It seems, I wasn't there, so it seems like a tragic accident.
It does seem like a tragic accident. I think the question legally would be negligence on Disney's part to ensure a safe environment for the people participating in these things. It sounds like she was videotaping. I don't know how one could miss the sounds.
I know.
But not
the ferry boat is giant.
Not to blame her, because obviously we don't know all the details.
We weren't there, right.
Exactly. It's just such a tragic situation. I see why they don't allow guest piloted vehicles in that lagoon anymore.
Yeah.
Because
they used to also allow it down by Disney Springs.
Right. But this happening even one time is plenty of reason to not allow that, because that is terrible. Yeah,
very tragic. I can't even imagine. But yeah, wild. For more tragedy, although I think everybody probably knows this one, on June 14th, 2016, an alligator attacked a 2-year-old who was playing in the water, and dragged him from the shore of the beach, and then they found him a day later, no longer alive.
Yeah.
When this happened, I was living in Tennessee at the time, and I was just like gripped by, I was just overcome with emotion, with sadness and horror and concern for Disney. You know what I mean? Because in addition to this being awful for the family, I think a lot of people were worried that this would take down the whole company. You know?
Yeah.
It was a horrible, horrible thing.
It's definitely one of the most notorious incidents that's ever happened on Disney property. One of the stories that really stops you in your tracks. I feel like this was some of the biggest media fallout that Disney ever had.
Yeah.
Especially in regards to Walt Disney World specifically. This is definitely a tragic incident, and the reason that there's so much done to provide a ton of signage and postage around all of the natural water at Disney now.
Yeah, that was the major change that came from it. I remember hearing people speculating that Disney was going to take all alligators out of the not living alligators. I mean, like alligator references, like in Peter Pan, which is not an alligator, it's a crocodile, but in Living with the Land, you pass by a few animatronic alligators, and I had heard that they were thinking, and this could have been a total rumor, thinking about taking all that out, and that didn't happen. What we got was a bunch of signs saying, "Stay out of the water. There are alligators and snakes."
Right.
My sister was a cast member at the time, and so they didn't really know much more than anybody else. Of course, there was a lot of rumors and speculation and heartbreak that went around even the community that was living and working there at the time.
Yeah.
Because what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's tragic. It's so sad. You don't want to place blame anywhere. I mean, I'm sure the family wanted to, although I heard that they didn't, you know?
Yeah, in the media at the time, there was a lot of blame being thrown around of people saying, how could a family let a child do this,
yes,
knowing that there's alligators in Florida, or how could Disney allow this to not be fenced in, how could blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of blame being thrown back and forth, and that always happens when there's a national a tragedy that gains national attention like this does. But at the end of the day, I think it was just a tragic accident that honestly could happen anywhere.
Yes.
People are vacationing in Florida. You know, we have very dangerous wildlife,
right,
in a lot of our touristy locations here. It was just a shame that it had to happen at Walt Disney World. It had to happen to such a young person. You know, it's just such a sad situation.
Yeah, as a mom, I think it was especially heartbreaking for me to. I do this. I put myself in people's shoes.
Yeah.
It's terrible. The whole thing was terrible. But yes, you're right. It could have happened anywhere in Florida, because this isn't something that they can really control without. It's such a hard thing too, because now I feel like they would catch a lot of backlash if they were like, we're just getting rid of all of any alligators that are on property. And maybe they are doing that.
Is that even possible in Florida?
It's not really. You could have like a team that's like full-time monitoring
alligator hunters.
Yes, and some people would feel better about it being like that, and then some people would argue that this was the alligator's home before it was Disney's home.
Oh yeah.
And we shouldn't be killing animals over something that, you know. So it's hard. They've got two different sides. They have two different sets of feelings, and I can't even imagine. I would not want to be in their shoes making decisions like this.
No, terrible situation.
I am under the this is a total wild guess. I kind of think, because I haven't seen any alligators there in a long time, that they might be relocating them in the dark of night. I don't know. They haven't said, you know.
Right.
Anyway, on to better news. Over the years, Grand Floridian has hosted many VIPs and celebrities, and I'd like to get into two of the most notable ones.
Oh.
Yeah, Britain's Princess Diana vacationed famously at Walt Disney World with her two young sons in 1993, and Grand Floridian was the home base for that entire vacation.
How fun.
Reportedly, she reserved an entire floor to ensure her family's privacy. You can Google and see pictures of a young Prince Harry and Prince William along with Princess Diana at the Grand Floridian.
Cool.
Yes. And this reinforced the resort's reputation as fit for a princess.
Aww.
Literally.
A real princess at Walt Disney World. How fun.
Yes. The Grand Floridian also made an appearance in the sitcom Full House.
Yes.
They, in a two-part episode set at Walt Disney World, Uncle Jesse famously serenades his wife Becky from a grand piano in the Grand Floridian's lobby, much to the delight of viewers.
That's classic. That episode of Full House is classic.
Very cute.
Disney.
Yeah. And then he was in the Beach Boys video, so he's all over the place playing music in Grand Floridian.
Oh, yeah. Grand Floridian.
John Stamos is a notorious big fan of Disney.
Yeah.
So that's kind of awesome. I love it when celebrities are famously a big fan of Disney World. It just warms my heart.
Yeah, that is really, I love that too.
Yeah.
I love seeing pictures of them with on vacations with their families, enjoying the parks. I think it's so sweet.
Yes. And for these VIPs, or for any of the regular of us that save, the Grand Floridian has a few kind of exclusive things that you can do. One of them is the award-winning Victoria and Albert's, and then the other is a private yacht cruise on the resort's Grand One yacht. If you have a special occasion and loads of cash, you could do either of those things. Victoria and Albert's is on like my lifelong bucket list, but I think it'll be a hot minute.
I know, yeah, it's very, very costly, but yeah, it seems lovely.
Yes, to get into it a little bit, Victoria and Albert's is a restaurant that is named after Queen Victoria and Albert Prince Consort. The restaurant opened in 1988 and the menu changes seasonally. Victoria and Albert's has received AAA's 5 Diamond Award every year since 2000.
Dang.
And is currently one of the 3 Florida restaurants to receive that award. Victoria and Albert's is also ranked as the #2 fine dining restaurant in the United States by TripAdvisor.
Wow.
Behind only Danielle in New York City. In February 2018, it received the prestigious Forbes Travel Guide 5-Star Award and is currently the only restaurant in the state of Florida to receive both the AAA 5 Diamond and Forbes Travel Guide 5-Star Award. In 2024, the restaurant became the first Disney-owned and operated restaurant and the first restaurant located in an American theme park resort to receive the prestigious Michelin star.
Woo-hoo.
So many awards, you can't even, but very, very expensive.
Yes, but it sounds like, wow, it sounds like it deserves to be.
It does.
Expensive because you don't get higher accolades than that.
Right. This is a prefix menu, which is pretty expensive, and then there's a wine pairing, which is even more expensive. Yeah, but it looks like a once in a lifetime kind of thing. Well, at least for me. If you can go all the time, then good for you.
Yes, perhaps we will indulge one day and have a full seating here at Victoria and Albert's. But
are you looking at the menu? Do you see the price?
Yeah, it's around $400
a person.
Yeah.
So
one day.
Yeah, it's just a lot for a meal.
Right.
And that's probably the base one. There are levels
Right, there's like multiple different
There's like the
experiences.
chef's table and all that, and then the wine and all of that.
Yeah, it's so expensive, in fact, that they don't even list the actual price on the website. I had to look through it from different articles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day.
One day.
Anyway, so Christmas at the Grand Floridian is a big deal, as we mentioned before. The tree there, for the first decade, it was made of poinsettias.
Ooh.
Poinsettias.
Pretty.
Yes, if you haven't seen this in person, you might want to Google it. It was very pretty, very unique, classy, I would say. The Christmas tree now is a very large 4-story tree that's decorated with snowflake ornaments featuring images and numbers from the 12 Days of Christmas song.
Yes.
Did you get the poinsettia? Yeah, this is it.
I missed the poinsettia tree.
Yeah.
How fabulous.
Yeah, it is. They used to roast chestnuts for you on like the Monorail platform, and I didn't see that when I was doing my research, but I actually remember it from when I was a child.
Oh, wow.
So the smell was enchanting. So Christmas.
Love that.
I love the Grand Floridian at Christmas time. I think that they have such a classy way of decorating. It just makes me so happy. For the gingerbread house that they are wildly famous for, there are pounds of sugar and let's see, it's 1,050 pounds of honey, 700 pounds of chocolate,
wow.
600 pounds of confectioner's sugar, 35 pounds of spices, and that is to create the structure. Obviously, they're leaving a lot of ingredients out of that.
Yeah, wow.
That's from their I think it was the DVC website.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yes, it takes more than 400 hours to bake and 160 to decorate, and it can be done without all of the essential baking ingredients. 800 pounds of with all of the, no, it says without. Can't be done without. Oh my gosh, double negative. 800 pounds of flour mixed with 140 pints of egg whites are the structure.
Wow.
Anyway, all of this is used to create the house, and after they're done with it, they break it down and feed it to the wildlife.
I love it.
Which is a little tidbit that we like.
How fun.
Here's my, you can look at this in a you want to cry way like me, or you can look at it as a, oh my gosh, the future is so exciting way like my husband would probably do. But this year, there will be no gingerbread house. It has been canceled in 2025. And that is because there will be a construction project that includes updates to the carpet, new furniture, and they will be adding a bar in the lobby that is based off of the bird cage that is in the lobby. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So right now there's like a decorative golden looking giant bird cage in the lobby of the Grand Floridian.
Right.
And I think that bird cage won't exist anymore, but this bar, it's like a walk up, grab a cocktail kind of bar in the middle of the lobby, which is interesting because they already have the Enchanted Rose right there, but I don't know. That will be in this gold bird cage like shape according to the concept art, which is something that you could look up. It's an interesting work of concept art.
Indeed.
Yes. Why they couldn't do this around Christmas, I don't know. I'm sad about it. For me, the Grand Floridian Christmas is a must do every year. We'll take the monorail, we'll get off, we'll ooh and ah and buy a gingerbread tile and just soak in the Christmas luxury, and I won't be able to do that this year. There are other resorts that have gingerbread fixtures. I particularly love the Boardwalk, and
I was about to say the Boardwalks is great.
Yeah, there's also one at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. There's now one at, I wasn't even thinking the Boardwalk. I was thinking the Beach Club. The Beach Club is where my favorite one is, the Carousel. But the Boardwalk has one now too. Beach Club, Animal Kingdom Lodge. So you still, contemporary, you can still get your gingerbread fix, but the Grand Floridian is taking a year off. And hopefully that's it. They haven't obviously I mean, because they don't really say stuff like this. They haven't said, oh, it will return in 2027. Obviously, we're all hoping.
Yeah.
They just did a really big celebration last year about it being the 25 years of gingerbread magic. Where they sold shirts and merch. My aunt bought me a really cool Christmas cookie jar that was the 25-year gingerbread anniversary. So to have that big of a celebration and then the next year shut it down for good would be insane. But hopefully it's just taking a year off.
I think it'll come back.
I do too. It would blow my mind.
Yeah, I think they're going to do this renovation. They're going to do this construction.
I was trying to look at the concept art and then decide in my head if there was still room for it.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's going to come down to. It's a giant gingerbread house in addition to a giant tree. So, I have hope. I'm sad that this year I won't be able to do it. I'm going to have to make up for that with other ones.
Yes.
Sometimes we go to a lot of resorts around the Christmas season to see the different trees and stuff like that. And there's always a few that we don't make it to because of time.
Right.
Maybe this year we'll make it to a few extras.
Yeah, right. Because
like last year we didn't see Old Key West or Saratoga Springs because they don't have as grand of a thing, but we should.
Yeah, we might as well, especially now that we'll have a little extra time. But maybe they'll surprise us. Yeah.
So that's it for my history and everything. We've got some interesting, some sad, some
modern.
Yeah,
lots of different. I mean, it's a pretty interesting history. It's actually newer of a resort, and the Wedding Pavilion being newer than I had thought. It's a shorter history than you would imagine, but
I know. I cannot believe it was so set in stone to be this Asian inspired luxury resort, and then scrap that. Let's do something completely different.
Yeah, a totally different direction. I do have great memories of the Grand Floridian, though. Not only walking through it, but also just being on the monorail and passing through and looking down at it. I just feel like it's got such a good magical vibe to it on the resort. Big fan. All right, Morgan. Well, I think that's about gonna do it for this episode. Thank you so much for providing us with some grand history of the Grand Floridian. If you guys would like to join us for some more adventures and history, then you can check us out on social media. We are on TikTok and Instagram at Neverland Navco.
We also have an Etsy shop called Neverland Navigation if you want to check us out over there. This is also where your custom trip t-shirts would come from if you decide to let me help you book your next vacation by emailing me at neverlandnavigationco@gmail.com.
All right, we're gonna go knock on wood and hope that the gingerbread house comes back soon.
Yeah.
So we'll see you on our
next adventure.
Goodbye.